We are plausibly live from the corner of 75 and 121 here in the great city of McKinney, Texas. Welcome back to Dynamics Chatter. We've got a short show for you because we're going to answer a few of your questions. We got some questions from the tip-off. We're going to try out a new co-host here because our other co-host is still on maternity leave. Not sure if he's ever coming back. And last but not least, we're going to right a tip-off wrong. It's neither right nor wrong, but we appreciate you, and we're thankful that you are still listening to Dynamics Chatter. Welcome back to Dynamics Chatter, where we still are mourning the loss of the tip-off, and we're trying out a new co-host here. AJ couldn't be here. He's on paternity leave still. We don't know if he's ever coming back, but we have our best co-host ever sitting in today for him. Thank you so much for joining me. AJ did throw me a few questions here about the tip-off, and then I'll answer your questions. This is all about you guys, but the first question he asked me was, when did you know you were in trouble? I knew we were in trouble about 5 seconds before we recorded when Murray looked at the judges and he said, "Hey, how many tips are we doing?" I could tell that I had worked very hard on this, and I could tell that he hadn't given this a second thought until we started. So that is when I knew that I was in for a world of hurt. AJ asked, why the videos versus live? I got a lot of questions about this. I got killed in the session about this. A couple of reasons. Number one is I am a small business. I have 3 demo environments, but they run very slowly. It would take me a couple minutes just to probably boot up the user interface on one of them. So I couldn't move as fast as Mr. Five, so I went the recording route. The other side of it is I wanted to give all of you guys the recordings, the short videos that I did, so that you could use them later. They're in a Dropbox link. I'll put them in the bottom of this YouTube video here. What's the easiest way? AJ asked me, what's the easiest way to get out of a diaper change? This one's easy. You're never going to get out of a diaper change with your wife, age. Never, okay? But what you can do is if you have a mother-in-law or a mom there, all you got to do is take the child that is a little bit on the smelly side, and you kind of just go to your mother-in-law or you go to your mom and say, you kind of smell, you go, hey, is she dirty? Is she dirty? I can't tell. Is she dirty? Mom picks that kid up. Yeah, whoa, she's dirty. Next thing you know, mother-in-law or mom, they're changing the diaper for you, okay? We are all about making dreams happen. You're never going to get out of it changing a diaper with your wife, but you got to utilize the moms. You got to utilize the mother-in-laws. We are more than just a functional D365 show. We are a functional life show, and that is how you get out of a diaper. So get to your questions here, the most important questions. I got a question from John in California. He said he's struggling with Power BI, and he asked, what's the most important component of success? Look, John, one, you got to have the right data. You got to have the right data. You got to know where the data is coming from. And you can't separate your functional 365 from your BI people. They've got to be the same folks. And you got to have the right data. Full disclosure, in PowerAX, we sell content packs of the right data, pre-built aggregate data entities, perspectives, data, views of data for 2012 and 365 for operations. It's an accelerator pack to get you started. And it's been a great tool for us, and it's really transformed some of our clients' businesses. But the most important thing I would say is once you have the right data, which you got to have a strategy for deployment. What that usually looks like, and I can't say it's the same for every company, but I usually have 4 or 5 core team members from different functional areas who own the data. They own what comes in. They are responsible for validating it. They're responsible for creating the dashboards and the reports. And then 1 or 2 of them publish up to everyone else in the organization. So you have that team of ownership. So it can't be 30 people. It can't be 1 person. But I find that a core team of 5 or 6 people who understand what the functional side, you need to leverage them, and you need a strategy for how you deploy. You can't just say, hey, we're going to start using this, and now everybody's got a different version of the truth. Whatever you do, you have to have a strategy for protecting the one version of the truth. I got a great note from Kason from Singapore. He sent me a great note about just thank you for the session. Hey, Kason, thank you for watching. We appreciate you. And he said, take the link that I did in tip 7, and I embedded it into OneNote. He said, take it to PowerPoint, and which I wish I would have done that. So thanks a lot for telling me now after the tip or trick is over. But that would be a great application of embedding the link. That way, when I open up a PowerPoint, I could see the dashboard and I could manipulate it right there in a PowerPoint session. Or when I give it to somebody else, they could do that. super helpful. I like it. Last but not least, Jillian from Florida. She first off went off and talked about how I talk too fast. Jillian, I'm sorry, I only have one speed. That's fast and faster. I can't help it. I get paid by the hour. So generally people like that, I guess, except when I'm doing these talks. So I will slow down during the functional power play. My apologies. She also asked me, what's your favorite grid? What's the best grid that you like in AX that's, voucher transactions, but I think my favorite grid is probably the inventory transactions or inventory costing transactions. I actually showed it in the first tip or trick that I did. I went in there from the Excel link, but I'm going to flash a few screenshots here. What I like about this grid is, when I just open it the first time, it just looks like inventory transactions. It doesn't make much sense, but if I bring in two key fields, if I bring in the reference and the number, all of a sudden this grid goes from something that really doesn't add a lot of value to all of a sudden now it's a view of the world. And I could filter it down by purchase order. Okay, so when I filter down by purchase order here, as you can see, all of a sudden now I have a receipts list instead of just an inventory transaction list, or I could get a shipment list. If I have an on-hand quantity of 10 of an item, I could see how much was produced, how much was shipped, how much was scrapped, how much was received. It gives me a view of reality that is just so much more important than just a bunch of inventory transactions. So that's probably my favorite grid. So speaking of favorites, and speaking of just getting killed by Jillian for going too fast, I am going to try to right a wrong in this session. I went back and watched the tip off, and I got, the tide turned for me in tip 5 where I got killed with data management. So what I'm going to do is double down here. I felt like I did a very poor job of doing that, and that's really where the points went from I was winning to I was losing and never looked back. Is I'm going to show you kind of the data management piece. I'm going to show you how I move setup and fixed asset information from one company to another. I'm going to show you how I can set up dependencies. Like I want to bring this in first because I need this to populate so that when I bring in, say, the fixed asset groups and it's got main account types in it, those are already there before I try to set up the groups. If they're not, then I can't bring in the next piece of data. So that data management piece is really key when I'm moving, I'd say, small setups, or if I'm moving additional functionality like projects or fixed assets, or maybe just AP parameters from one company to another. It's really helpful to use the data management piece just to create copies in multiple companies. It's really easy if you're not doing a full-blown copy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the support. Thank you for keep sending your emails to dynamicschatter@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter @dynamicschatter. You can also hit me up at LinkedIn, all the normal places, Facebook. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. And we'll keep doing these question sessions. Great questions. I had a whole bunch more, but I just didn't have time. These were the ones I decided to answer today. The rest of them, I could go into a lot more. I try to respond to everybody. So if you send me something, I will respond, I promise. But the other thing I promise is that if you keep listening, we'll keep doing this. And I appreciate my co-host for joining me today. And hopefully you have still enjoyed listening to a little Dynamics Chat.
Dynamics Chatter Functional Power Play.
Welcome back to a very sad functional power play. You're watching Dynamics Chatter, maybe our most depressing episode yet, because we lost the tip-off. We're still not over it yet, but what we are going to do is try to right a wrong here. We really went downhill at tip 5, which was all about data management, so we're going to take a second swing at it. We're going to try to right the wrong, and let's go ahead and jump in here. We'll go and jump into data management, and maybe I can articulate my point a little bit better this time, or maybe not. But I'll try to slow down for you, Jillian, okay? I'll try to go a little bit slower here. So I'm in the data management workspace, and I went to the export, okay? And what I'm doing here in this scenario is we're going to grab the fixed asset setup that's in USMF, and we're going to bring that over to another company. So this way I don't have to set up all the groups, all the major types, all the profiles, all the books, all of those good things multiple times by hand, okay? So basically what I'm doing here is I'm bringing in these different entities, and I'm bringing in 2 for this example. I'm bringing in groups, and I'm going to bring in major types. Now, the key thing here, and the key thing I didn't articulate well because I got killed in the Dynamics Chatter tip-off of the century, which I'm very upset about still, is that one of the key pieces of this, and one of the real reasons to use it, is because I can set up sequencing. So in this example here, fixed asset group setup, okay, I need those, like major type is a field in the group setup, okay? I need those set up first before I bring in fixed asset groups, because if I bring in groups before types, then I don't have those type values to put into the group setup. Okay, so one is dependent upon the other. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change that dependency. So I'm going to change the groups are 1 and the types are 2. I'm going to change the types to 1 and the groups to 2. Okay, so I'm going to change that the sequencing here. Super important. There are packs for this that Microsoft has, and you can use those. But just double check them, because they're not always the right order. I've been burned by that before, so check it out. But I like to use this for small setups where I want the consistency of the data to be the same. So what I'm going to go and do now is we're going to export. I'm going to go to options. We're going to export now. Okay, and then we're going to kind of see what got exported. We're going to view the staging data. Okay, so there's execution summary here, and I can see the data that's getting pulled out. Now, if you notice here, what I could do is I could download this package to Excel. Okay, I can manipulate it and I can import it back in. Okay, and using the import functionality. But instead, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to then go to the execution summary here. I'm going to go to the view staging, and I am going to then change companies, and I'm going to copy this data back to target. Okay, so I'm bringing it down to the staging table. I could download it to Excel if I wanted to through a package, but I don't. But then what I'm going to do is instead of changing it or doing anything to it, I've set the sequence up correctly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now go and I'm going to what we call copy data to target. So first I'm going to switch companies, then we'll copy that data to target. You'll see it here in a second. And then we'll check the setup to make sure we brought it over correctly. Correctly lost the tip-off. I'm still struggling with it. We're not quite there yet. Thank you for all your support, all of the love that I've gotten from everybody out there. But the champ is good. Okay, the champ is real good. Okay, so if I go here now to the staging data, I'm gonna click on this. We're gonna go up here, and you see right here, I'm gonna click on copy data to target. Okay, and it's gonna copy my my data entities in. It's gonna do it in the correct sequence, and then we'll check it out here in a second. We're gonna validate it. I'll check it here in a second, and we're gonna go to the setups in this company, and you'll see that I now have major types. They're all there. They came in first. Okay. And you can see now if I go to the fixed asset groups, okay, you see here I need the major types in place before I bring the group in, okay? You can do this with 12 entities, 20 entities. You can use a template, and then you can save it, okay? Super important. I think the thing I would tell people a lot of times is they think this is about saving time. And yes, it does save time, but for me, it's about the consistency of your data. It's making sure that the same 10 asset groups are spelled the same, they're set up the same across all the companies in your organization. It's just about typing in COMP instead of COMPUTER for computers. Just that consistency of data. Using this is a great way to move it, and it's a great way to move data. And again, you could drop this into Excel, you can manipulate it, you can bring it back in. I think it's also a great way with these Excel packages to say, bring in the number sequences, bring in the payment terms, bring in the things we need for every implementation so that we don't have to go set them all up. I think it's also another, I've got my own little data package that I can import in, okay, where we said drop it out, that we can use. Again, I tried to slow down, Jillian. I just got crushed by you for going too fast, but I tried to slow down. Thank you all for your notes. Thank you all for your time. It still hurts. This is going to be the most depressing episode ever. But thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for your support. And thank you for still listening to Dynamics Chatter. Thanks.